So good morning, veterans. Veterans, families, and friends, and all others here wishing to honor veterans past and present on this special day. Welcome to our Veterans Day ceremony here at Dreamland Villa. My name is Dennis Zorbe, and I am your Master of Ceremony today. I'm honored to be with you on such a special occasion. For those that don't know me, my wife Donna and I have been seasonal residents at Dreamland for 14 years. I am a veteran. Those of us in uniforms don't fit anymore, usually wear a hat or something. Having proudly served the United States Air Force for 5 years, 1964-1969, I entered active duty from my hometown, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and served 13 months in Laredo, Texas in flight school. And I served 2 years at Travis Air Force Base, California, flying co-pilot on air transport missions to Southeast Asia during the Vietnam War buildup. And finished the last 2 years at Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota, regularly manning Minuteman missile launch capsules under the North Dakota prairie. In my experience, you might say I've served in both high places and low places. We are here to honor our heroes, to remember their achievements, their courage and dedication, and most of all to say thank you. This ceremony gives us the opportunity to think of our heroes, those who have joined us here today, those who are unable to be here, and those who are here only in spirit. A person can't help but be in awe of the enormous sacrifices that have been made on our behalf. We stand in the midst of these patriots who have nobly served our country, and so today we say thank you. Tomorrow, November 11th, 2018, marks the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I and Armistice Day. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, an armistice or temporary cessation of hostilities was declared between the Allied nations and Germany in the First World War, then known as the Great War, or the War to End All Wars. Although the Treaty of Versailles was signed June 28, 1919, marking the official end of the war, the American public still viewed November 11th as the date that marked the end of World War I, and was thereafter known as Armistice Day. In 1920, President Wilson officially commemorated Armistice Day as a day that should be remembered, with Thanksgiving, prayer, and exercises designed to perpetuate peace between nations. World War I was to be the war to end all wars. But it was not to be so. In 1941, the United States became embroiled in World War II, and then the Korean War after that, and many wars since, leading Congress to change the name from Armistice Day to Veterans Day. From then on, we remember November 11th as the day to honor American veterans of all wars. As we come to the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I, it is fitting that we reflect on those soldiers who fought so long ago. What do we really remember about World War I? Here are some facts and trivia about the most horrific conflict, and one of the most horrific conflicts in modern human history. The war lasted from July 1914 to November 1918. There were 65 million soldiers mobilized in that time. 10 million killed or died. 21 million were wounded. Roughly 1 out of every 2 that was mobilized was either killed or wounded. 7.7 million civilians died as a result of the war. America entered the war in 1917, which was reasonably late in the war. America had 117,000 killed in the war. Some other trivia there, facts. The first blood bank was established on the front lines in 1917 for blood transfusions. The youngest authenticated combatant was 12-year-old Sidney Lewis, who obviously lied about his age. In previous wars, most soldiers died from disease, but in World War I, 2/3 of deaths were the result of combat. 1/3 was from the Spanish flu. On Christmas Eve of 1914, soldiers on both sides of the Western Front sang Christmas carols to each other. On Christmas, they called a holiday truce. For bravery in combat, the Harlem Hellfighters, an African-American Guard unit from New York, were recognized by the French government and received the French Croix de Guerre Medal for heroism on the front lines. Nearly 13,000 Native Americans served in the war. It was known later as a war of trench warfare. The trench network, about 25,000 miles long, spanned from the English Channel to Switzerland. Walt Disney was an ambulance driver during World War I. General John Blackjack Pershing, commander of the American forces during World War I, was the only 6-star general in American history. Pershing was a humble man, however, and he never wore his 6-star on his uniform. And many will recall that the most decorated American of World War I was Alvin York. These are rather some remarkable statistics and information that helps us put a few things about World War I into perspective as we reflect back 100 years ago to the beginning of Armistice Day. This time we have an excellent program lined up for you today. And without further ado, let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Scout Troop 755. Audience, please feel free to follow along. Would everyone please stand? The theme of our ceremony this year is America the Beautiful. How fitting that is for such a special occasion. When I think of the song, America the Beautiful, I think what a scenic and beautiful country we are blessed with. Few, if any, other countries have the breadth and diversity of our flora, fauna, and landscape. Let's now honor our veterans and pay tribute to America by singing along to this video, America the Beautiful. Maybe we can get through it this time. There's 2 verses, so. At this time, then, we would now like to have Dave Duncan come on stage for the invocation.
A letter from a man who did not know war to those who do. I do not know the sound of a bullet, or the power of a blast, the blood of a comrade, or the depth of his wounds. I do not know the terror of midnight or the dread of dawn, or your fear and your pain. But I do know the sound of your honor, the power of your courage, the blood of your wounds, and the depth of your strength, the terror that binds you, the dread that remains, your dignity and your valor. For these things I pray, for the sound of your laughter and the power of your voice, the blood of your yearning, the depth of your healing, joy that frees you, the hope that remains, and the wholeness of your love. When the last soldier passes on and the armies are disbanded, and the militia is discharged, when the weapons are abandoned and the armor discarded, your mission will at last be over. For you know the soldier's secret. Yours was not a mission of war, nor a mission of ruin. Yours was not a mission of destruction nor a mission of death, but rather it was a mission of safety, security, and protection. Your mission was honor, loyalty, and service. Your mission was to end violence, tyranny, and despair. So when the last soldier passes on and the uniforms are retired and the final grave filled, we will remember all who served and sacrificed for our nation. Until then, God of mercy, watch over our soldiers and our veterans. Renew their courage, rebuild their strength, heal their wounds, light their hearts with your steadfast love. Remember them, bless them, sustain them, and give them peace.
Thank you, Dave, for that wonderful and thoughtful invocation. This time we'd like to have our ceremonial flag posting. Oh, yes, please, you can be seated. And if you want, at the bench, as your flags are posted, if you'd like to stand up and appreciate that so we know which service that you served in. So, posting the U.S. Army flag is Don Jagler, served 1967 to 1969 from Greeley, Colorado. Served at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, Fort Knox, Kentucky, and Fort Carson, Colorado. He was a tank commander. Carrying the U.S. Marines flag is Dick Renner, served 1968-1970 from Akron, Ohio, served in Vieques, Puerto Rico, served as an infantryman and heavy equipment operator. Carrying the U.S. Navy flag is Don Rod, served 1961-1965 from Milwaukee, Oregon. Served at San Clemente Marine Corps Base as a boat coxswain, supporting the Polaris missile test program, and out of Concord, California on an ammo ship supplying the Westpac at the beginning of the Vietnam buildup. Served 1962 to 1965 from Jackson, Michigan. Served at Goose Bay Air Base in Labrador with the 59th Fighter Air Squadron, and at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in North Carolina. Served as an aircraft hydraulics maintenance. U.S. Army, served 1963-1965 from Redwood Falls, Minnesota, served in Japan and Vietnam with the Army Security Agency. Served 1965 to 1968 from Scotland, Connecticut. Served in Iceland, Rhode Island, and Chu Lai, Vietnam as a mechanic. This time I'd like all veterans who are here to please stand as ye are able. The scouts are going to hand out, keep standing, and hopefully you can while the scouts hand out a little gift item for you to have. We want to thank you for answering your call to duty. You have made our armed forces the most respected in the world. You're each getting another set of dog tags, so we want you to start preparing for active duty. You may sit after you've received your little gift here. Once again, I want to say thank you to all for your service. You all, in the prime of your youth, left your homes and answered the call to duty and made yourself available for whatever Uncle Sam had in mind for you.
Way back in the corner.
Okay, this time I'd like all, there's a lot of sacrifices made by family members. Whether you were with your spouse when they were on active duty, whether you were at home without them while they were on active duty, whether you spent time subsequent driving them to the VA, all those things that go along with being a veteran spouse and family members. So would those people please stand? Family members of veterans. Thank you for supporting your veterans. It's a time of the program we ask if there's any of the events that were POWs. Do we have any Purple Heart recipients in the audience? I wonder if you would be willing to introduce yourself if we bring you a mic and say where and when you served. She's coming with a mic.
My name is Bill Franklin. My name is Bill Franklin, and I served in Korea from 52 to 54. That's it. I was wounded a week or two before, months before the Army, they had an agreement to cease fire. So I spent 4 months in the hospital in Japan.
Thank you. Do we have any recipients of the Bronze Star or any other awards for courage and bravery? Okay, then I'd like to see who the oldest veterans here are. Do we have any veterans that are over 100? Not likely, right? Any veterans that are over 90, would you please stand? Okay, of your 90s, anybody over 95? please stand. 94, 93. Could you bring in the mic and you can tell us when and where you served?
My name's Don Ryder. I served in Korea in parts of 52 and 53.
Thank you, Don. I wonder if we have the youngest veteran here. Anybody, let's see, how do we go about this? Anybody here that served, let's see, I guess, how do we do this? Anybody under 40 that's a veteran here? Under 50 that's a veteran? We are an old group. Under 60 that's a veteran. Under 70 that's a veteran. Okay, of you, who was born last? Let's see how we do this. Who's over 65? Anybody under, let's see. Okay, let's just hear the years you were born. 30? 49, 1949? December, July 49? Which year was that? 1953, okay. Our youngest veteran, would you introduce yourself and...
I'm older than all of them. I was born December 7th, 48.
Oh, okay. So the youngest, name and when and where you served?
My name is Gary Boyd. I served from 1971 to 1991. I was security police for 16 years and went to personnel for 4 years.
And the service? What's your name?
Air Force.
I'm proud of you. Thank you. And we thank you all for your service again. At this time, we'd like to recognize that we have the Missing Man table display located near the entry doors. It's a very special exhibit that represents those who never returned home. We stopped by the table after the ceremony to reflect on those who were kept captive behind enemy lines or who still are missing. We have Lady Liberty here that will read a description of the table setting and what each item represents. And we have Sharon Gill as Lady Liberty.
Missing Man Table. The table is reserved to honor our missing comrades in arms. It is reminiscent of the civilians who died during the service alongside the armed forces or during armed conflict. The tablecloth is white, symbolic of the purity of their intentions when answering the call of duty. The single red rose stands for the family with faith and love for those who serve. They're held with the highest respect, for that's what they deserve. A yellow ribbon is for the loyalty waiting for those serving abroad. As we pray that they're watched over and kept close to God. An inverted glass represents that the fallen can no longer toast. They cannot be an honored guest or such a gracious host. A lemon wedge represents the bitter loss of the fallen soldier's life that causes so much pain, like the sharp edge of a knife. The salt is put in place for all the loved ones shedding tears, for the soldier is no longer present to help calm their fears. The candle stands tall for the blood that the soldier shed. It holds a place of honor and represented in red. The empty chair symbolizes the missing comrade who isn't there. Now it stands alone for the voice that we cannot hear. We will never forget their sacrifices.
We will now retire this service flags. Flag bearers, retire your flags. This time again, I'd like to bring back Our Lady Liberty. She will read a beautiful poem that she has written that I think you will enjoy.
Before I start, when I wrote this, I was 17 years old in high school, and it was the middle of the Vietnam War. I didn't realize that was the biggest deployment of men that we sent to any war. And when I went to writer's class, because my parents had died and I was to take something, so I took it out of my book. I found out a man was writing a book on Vietnam. He wanted a copy. It got sent to Washington, and now they're using this poem with the program to help the men get in touch with their feelings. It's called A Soldier's Prayer. As I sit alone in my room at night, I think of the boys in Vietnam that fight. They are bold, brave boys who played just yesterday with their toys. The motto that they are taught is to shoot and don't miss. To look at one day's battle, you think, oh my God, what a mess. Their body trembles and shakes from the toil. They say, oh God, keep me until tomorrow. Keep me so I can go home to my wife and enjoy the pleasures of life. Let me be with my daughter and son and watch the Yankees get a home run. I hate this dirty old land. These people try to get from you all they can. Please, God, let me go home soon, to be able to sleep in my own bed till noon, to go home to the land of the brave and free, and to have my dog Sandy near my knee, to be able to walk under the moon and stars, and to be able to have a drink in a neighborhood bar. Please, God, watch over me this day, and keep me safe for another day.
Thank you, Sharon. That was wonderful. At this time, I'd like to present our own very talented and wonderful team of dancers, the Dream Steppers, who will be dancing into your hearts today with Yankee Doodle Dandy. Aren't they lovely? You're welcome. Thank you, Dream Steppers. Now we're going to have a video. It's a special tribute to our veterans. It's called What is a Veteran? Let us watch now before we take a moment of silence and taps, followed by a few closing remarks.
Some veterans bear visible signs of their service, a missing limb, a jagged scar, a certain look in the eye. Others may carry the evidence inside them, a pin holding a bone together, a piece of shrapnel on a leg, or perhaps another sort of inner steel, the soul's ally forged in the refinery of adversity. They Except in parades, however, the men and women who have kept America safe wear no badge or emblem. You can't tell a vet just by looking. But what is a vet? He is the cop on the beat who spent 6 months in Saudi Arabia sweating 2 gallons a day, making sure the armored personnel carriers didn't run out of fuel. He is the barroom loudmouth, dumber than 5 wooden planks, whose overgrown frat boy behavior is outweighed 100 times in the cosmic scales by 4 hours of exquisite bravery near the 38th parallel. She or he is the nurse who fought against futility and went to sleep sobbing every night for 2 solid years in Da Nang. He is the POW who went away one person and came back another, or didn't come back at all. He is the Quantico drill instructor who has never seen combat but has saved countless lives by turning slouchy, no-account rednecks and gang members into Marines and teaching them to watch each other's backs. He is the parade-riding legionnaire who pins on his ribbons and medals with a prosthetic hand. He is the career quartermaster who watches the ribbons and medals passing by. He is the 3 anonymous heroes in the Tomb of the Unknowns, whose presence in the Arlington National Cemetery must forever preserve the memory of all the anonymous heroes whose valor dies unrecognized with them on the battlefield or in the ocean's sunless deep. He is the old guy bagging groceries at the supermarket, palsied now and aggravatingly slow, who helped liberate a Nazi death camp and who wishes all day long that his wife were still alive to hold him when the nightmares come. He is the ordinary and yet extraordinary human being, the person who offered some of his life's most vital years in service to his country and who sacrificed his ambition so that others would not have to sacrifice theirs. He is a soldier and a savior and a sword against the darkness. He is nothing more than the finest, greatest testimony on behalf of the finest, greatest nation ever known. So remember, each time you see someone who has served our country, just lean over and say thank you. That's all most people need. And in most cases, it will mean more than any medals they could have been awarded or were awarded. 2 little words that can mean so much. Thank you. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us the freedom to demonstrate. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, whose coffin is draped by the flag.
We have so much as Americans to be thankful for, don't we? We are privileged to live in this great land, America the beautiful, indeed it is. And I want to thank each and every one of you for attending today's ceremony, and a big thank you to our presenters and all the volunteers. A special thank you goes to Kathy Jagler and the Dreamland Villa Entertainment Committee for putting on this event. Please be sure to stick around after the program to socialize, and I'm sure you can smell breakfast cooking. We have SOS. Most of you veterans will relate to that. It's being served today by our volunteers with help from the Boy Scouts. I checked in and they actually went on the internet and got the Army recipe for SOS. So this is the real deal. Thanks to the Scouts for participating and helping out today. You will notice some donation jars around the building. These donations will go to the Boy Scout troop here today to help them with their various projects. Immediately following taps, breakfast will be served. Please form 2 lines on each side of the tables over here to my right. Remember the debt to our heroes can never be repaid, but our gratitude and respect must last forever. God bless each of you and your families. God bless our troops, and God bless America. Let us now bow our heads as we have a moment of silence, followed by taps. Thank you all for coming and good day.
I don't think so. I think they're going to serve.
But it's not because they're serving them. I think they need one more person to listen up to it. No, you're good.
Long services. Are you getting in line or go to the back? I'm talking.